Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Corey Yoder of Coriander Quilts, and today I am finally getting around to sharing here on YouTube my $5 pattern for this month, the month of November. I've had this pattern listed for $5 in my Etsy shop this whole month, but I have not got this video up for you guys to enjoy as of yet. And that is what is on the agenda for today. I have decided to offer my snowy pattern for the $5 pattern this month. I thought this was very fitting for this time of year with the holidays just around the corner. And this is such a fun quilt to piece. Let's take a look at this just a little bit closer in detail before I show you the quilt in its entirety. So here you can see, these are nice big blocks. They allow you to really showcase the print that you choose to use around each of these snowmen. This is a fat quarter quilt. So these prints are cut from fat quarters. You'll need 16 of them to complete this quilt. There are 16 snowmen block total. And here we're going to look at the fabric requirements just briefly. You can see this is a larger quilt finishing at 87 by 87. One thing I did want to mention in regard to the fabric requirements is for this background fabric. You're going to see that you need 4.5 yards of background fabric, and that includes the whites that you're using for the snowmen, as well as the fabric here in the sashing. So that is for all of those whites that you see throughout this quilt. The other thing that I wanted to mention has to do with these little applique noses. I know some of you might not be applique fans, and that is okay. Sometimes I like applique, and other times I would rather do without. So we do have options for these noses. Now, this is a very simple approach to applique. It uses Heat and Bond Light, which you'll see here on the pattern, which is a fusible backed web. And I used just a straight stitch and a raw edge for those noses. And you can see it has started to fray just a little bit because I went with a straight stitch rather than a blanket stitch, which would be a more secure stitch that you could use for your applique. But I didn't mind a little fraying. This quilt has been washed already and it is just starting to fray just a little bit. So you can use that type of applique, that simple approach if you wanted to, or you could opt just to skip those noses altogether. This quilt will be cute using just the eyes and the buttons and no nose at all. He's still going to look like a perfectly sweet little snowman. So another option for you if applique might not be your perfect pick when you are making quilts. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the quilting on this quilt. This quilting pattern is called Razzle Dazzle, and my quilter Kayleen Perry quilted this up for me. I will have the name and a link to that quilting pattern design in the description box below this video, as well as a link to Kayleen's Instagram information should you want her to do any long arm quilting for you. Next up, we're gonna move this quilt back behind me so you can see it a little bit better in its entirety, and I think you'll see just how cute and fun this quilt could be to have out for the holidays. And here is what snowy looks like. You can see it is 4 blocks across, 4 blocks down, and it really showcases those prints as I mentioned earlier. The sashing includes little snowball blocks as well as that cute little diagonal striped print that I chose for the sashing. I love using diagonal stripes or just stripes in general in sashing and in binding when I can. And I've used it both for the sashing as well as the binding in this quilt, and I think it sets it off so nicely. As I mentioned, this is the $5 pattern of the month over in my Etsy shop, so you will find the link to my Etsy shop in the description box below. The pattern's available in both PDF or paper versions, depending on which you prefer. And over on my blog today, I have mocked up different versions of my snowy quilt in fabric lines that are currently in quilt shops right now, so that you can see what it might look like in some easier to find fabric lines. So you'll want to make sure and take a peek over there. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I will do my very best to answer those for you. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.